Greetings, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. Hello, welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Hope you're playing it safe out here, staying safe. We are now in the month of May. Great things are happening. We're ending the school year, and so there's a lot going on for educators all over. You're planning conferences, planning your year for the next year and things like that. So with that said, I wish you guys all the best. And I'm going to now transition into some announcements. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU network hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. And you can find it on Spotify. You can also find it on all of my main social media contacts. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I also have Threads, which is Indie238. Blue Sky is Dr. India White. And I have another one, which is drawing blank to me. But I don't know. Follow me on those, and we will reconnect and do some great things together. Also, check out the website, www.india-white.com for books, blogs, and if you're needing to schedule me to help you guys to support you throughout the school year for the summer or next year, I'd be honored. You can schedule me for a speaking or coaching event there. Speaking of events, I'm excited about some events coming up. We've got the Florida Math Conference coming up in June. Also, the joint conference for NCTM and NCTE will also be in June. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. CAMPS conference is coming up in July. And then we have these other ones in CTM and CSM conferences coming up later on in the year. So, Lord willing, I will be able to see you guys at all of those. Check out also the Grit Mini Workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website. Check that out and give Grit a chance. See if you like it. Let me know how you feel. Also, if you are needing tutoring for your students or your family, or somebody that needs tutoring, please let them know I'm available. Our team's available to support at the Grit Academy. We'd be honored to help you guys there. So this podcast, for those that are, maybe this is your first time viewing, is if you're trying to close the achievement gap, maybe you're having some classroom management issues, or your students just aren't motivated to do work, then you can join me on this podcast. And we'll talk about different subjects that will help you to bridge the gap or help you to empower you in some way or another. I also wanted to remind you guys of the Grit calendars. Please check those out whenever you get a chance. Plan your school year around Grit, plan your life around Grit, and enjoy the results. Now, with that said, I'm honored to come to you today, especially educators. I'll be talking with you about how we can finish the school year strong with Grit. For those that don't know what Grit stands for, my version of Grit is having great resilience in time. Okay, so the more resilience you can push out in a shorter amount of time, then the more grit you have when you're able to just push through. Grit is all about pushing through no matter what. No matter the barriers, no matter the oppositions, you just figure out a way and you push through. So I want to come on here and talk more about how we can finish the school year strong. I did write a blog this week, so I figured, you know what, this would be a perfect time to get the blog out, because I know some of you are busy and you're reading 1,000 other blogs and articles. I get it. You've got NCTM journal, you've got, all different types of journals and things out here. So we're going to talk about it together on the show. How about that? So before I go there, I want to talk about just some tips that I did, just kind of say, like, in general, if I was sitting down with you, over Starbucks or something, what would I say? So some things that I would say is, first off, you have to have a positive mindset. If you, as an educator, are trying to finish the school year strong, optimism is everything, because you can be so surrounded by the negative voices and the mess going on and the changes to society every day, that you can get caught up on that and lose sight of what you're really trying to do. I also want to encourage you that if you have students and it looks like they're not going to pass your class, please do not give up on them. Okay. I would say just don't ever give up on a student. You might say, India, this child's a knucklehead. You don't understand. This child's a pain in my side. This child just has put me through so much. You just don't have an idea. And so if you're dealing with that, I do want to encourage you to do your best these last few weeks to see the best in all of your students and to hope for the best in all of your students. And ask yourself a question. Am I hindering what could be the best result and the best outcome for the student's overall life success? Or am I adding to the best result of that student's life success? And you have to be honest with yourself. So if you are a hindrance, I want you to then ask a question. Is it worth really being a hindrance? Are you frying a little fish? Are you playing a little violin and you're like trying to prove something? And then my question is, okay, so say you proved it. Is it worth that? Was it worth you proving and maybe causing some kind of detriment to that child's life? Especially if you're dealing with like a senior that's on their hopes of graduating and you're like the only F they have. I'm talking to teachers like that as well. Or the student is going from 8th grade to 9th grade and they need your class to pass, whatever. I just want you to ask those questions. Like, is it worth, being the bad guy? What do you get, when you're thinking about it? When you're thinking about it over the summer, what do you get? How do you benefit? You know what I mean? So I want you to think about that. I want you to consider that as you're going along and doing different things. Now, let's keep moving forward. Number 2, tip 2, choose to see the best in all students. Which I just said this, and this came to me, years ago when I had a hard time doing this. When the students display the same behaviors and some of them are acting out so that they can get attention because they're not getting the attention of love and support at the home. So they want that attention, or they're wanting to act out because they have peers that they're trying to please. And so it gives them cool points, whatever your situation. Sometimes it's hard to see the best in those students. Sometimes it's like a student walks in your class, you're like, oh my Lord, I just want them to leave. Like, just turn around and go. Right. And if you're dealing with that, I want to just emphasize to you, that is still somebody's child. And even if it seems like they don't care or not, they do. And that child showed up to get the best quality education. And you were the one that was selected to promise that they would get exactly that. Now, if you are overwhelmed and you're like, I just can't see the best of students, then I would also recommend take care of yourself. Make sure that you're having that self-care, that self-love, so that you are not falling apart in the process of trying to help everybody else. Does that make sense? So I want to encourage you to do what it is that you can to see the best in them. Talk to other peers, talk to coaches, talk to people in the community to see if that can maybe help to stir up and boost, some hope for you. And then my next tip for you guys would be focus on your end goal. What is your end goal for your school year? What is your end goal for the school grade? What is the end goal for your career? Focus on the end goal and choose to be grateful and choose to just hone in on that. So that you don't feel like you're just overwhelmed with everything and then you just feel burned out, like you just don't care. And then, of course, 4, celebrating baby steps. Progress is always being made. So when it's hard to celebrate the big picture, celebrate what you can control, celebrate those small things that are happening for you for good. I mean, it's May. So you could say, hey, I have less than 30 days, and I'm done. I've finished. I did this thing throughout the year, and then, of course, principals and administrators, you might not necessarily be quite finished because you still have to do some things over the summer, but you could still celebrate and say, we cleaned up as much as we could and we accomplished much. So I want to encourage you guys and leave you with that. Now, as we continue to talk about finishing the school year strong, I do want to pull up another article, and then I'll pull up my blog as well, so that you can see kind of what I professionally wrote to all of us earlier in the week. So I want to pull this up for you. I thought this was pretty neat. Teacher for the Heart, and it says, finish strong, strategies for making the final weeks count. So it says, as teachers, we often feel so overwhelmed in the final weeks of school that our only goal is to simply make it to summer break. Many of us have felt like that, right? And then they say, but if we only survive, we're missing huge opportunities the final weeks bring. The good news is that we don't need a lot of time to make the last weeks count, just a bit of intentionality. Okay, so join us as we explore how we can make a final impact on our students, pack up in an organized way. That's good, right? Reflect helpfully and prepare ourselves for a refreshing summer break. So, finishing strong, table of contents. Her first tip is how to finish strong, even if you don't think you can. Okay, so, and then she says that you can make a final impact on your students, hopefully for good. How you can close down your classroom like a pro. How you can have a simple key to future success. And then, of course, step 5, steps for your ideal summer break. So, number 1, how do you finish strong even when you don't think you can? So, she's talking about when she's pregnant and things like that. Awesome. But it says here, why do these last weeks of school matter? It says these last weeks are an opportunity to make a final impact on your students. You've spent so much time with them. You know them better now than ever, right? It says you've built a relationship. So then keep your eyes open on opportunities to guide them, to lead them with those last few words of wisdom, to inspire them, because they'll listen better now because of your shared history. Okay, it's a great time to reflect. Ending the school year, it's a great time, right? So it says here, reflect on these things. What has gone wrong this year? What has gone right this year? Make some notes about it and then remember them next year so that you can make any changes and remember what you want to do again. Okay, next, make a plan as to how you're going to use your summer wisely. Are you going on a road trip? What are you doing, right? So it says sometimes the summers fly and you don't know where the time went. So you had time, you had things you wanted to accomplish, but you didn't get to them. So now is really the time to consider what you want to do before the next school year, but also plan and rest and relaxation. And I like that it says that because I don't want you to be like how I was. Like, it was a couple years back, and I remembered we finished really strong. I was an administrator, and I did not take rest for myself. I want to say I had, even though I had about 3 weeks off, I want to say I only took 3 days for myself. It was crazy because I never disconnected from the year before. So even though we had finished up that school year, I only had like 3 days to just process an entire year and to get ready for a new year. So you can imagine how I felt when I was seeing new students and new teachers and new rosters and new lockers and all, and I hadn't even disconnected from the first, from the year a few weeks, from me. I was overwhelmed. And that, my friends, can lead to burnout. I remembered I felt like crying because I was like, oh no, I had such regret. I should have taken advantage of resting, taking care of myself. And I was trying to be this rock star and do all this stuff and be over the top. And it kind of backfired. We still did good, but I was overwhelmed. I remembered I didn't want to see another locker. I didn't want to see a roster. I didn't want to see registration forms, but it was too late. I was already in and I was already going right into the next year. So and plus it's, educators, we put a lot of work in. We've got to value our time. I understand we have to give back, pay it forward, volunteer at times. But if you're doing so much work that you're not being recompensed for and compensated for, then I would highly recommend you also space out your time that way as well. Because, this is why you have value and worth, right? And this is why they pay you. So I just want to, keep that there as well. I'll never forget that year, guys. That was really intense. So with that said, let's keep going. Second tip, making a final impact for your students. It says, here it comes, ready or not. Be intentional with how you spend your time, both academically and relationally. Academics, take a moment to see where you are in your scope and sequence. If you're behind schedule, don't just keep doing the next lesson. At this point, you're going to run out of time. So intentionally think through what the most important lessons are and prioritize them. I like that. And then relationships, pray and keep your eyes open for how God wants to bless his children through you. Okay. It says God isn't done using you in the lives of your students in your last weeks. Intentionally speak love, truth, and encouragement into their lives. They need it, guys. And it says ask them or ask God to help you shine his light to the students he's given you this year. I like that. Okay, the next one, how to close down your classroom like a pro. I want to hear this. So cleaning up, number one, don't pack the visible parts of the classroom too early. If you start taking down your bulletin boards a month before school ends, oh, wow. It will signal to your students that the year's over and they will start to lose focus. I will say something too. We're going to get to her. I didn't start packing down probably until maybe that last week and a half before school ended. But when I packed down, it was not just me. My students and I, we had such wonderful relationships and they got paid for fake money, class money for helping, $20 for helping, things like that. And they wanted that. The incentive was there. The buy-in was there. So it worked. It was a wonderful system. I wasn't the one stressed out afterwards, trying to break everything down by myself. Those kids were amazing. My kids always packed up. My students always packed up. And so find a way to create some type of incentive around students helping to volunteer their time to help clean up the classroom. It really works and it saves you a lot of energy. I remembered, just how much energy and how much happiness I had because it just worked. It worked, So I want to encourage you to come up with some type of, you could come up with a to-do list, take down bulletin board, put up markers, take files out of whatever, tear down projects, or, take the books back for inventory, things like that, right? You could come up with a list and have students volunteer as to what it is that they want to do to help you with. So start cleaning out your desk, cabinets, computer files ahead of time so that you can discreetly get some things accomplished without derailing your class. That's good. Do enlist your students to help. Oh, look, one of your last days of school, try giving students an engaging independent work and having pairs, especially those slow days that nobody's going to be there, like a fire drill or one of those just off days where you're not, or it's after, especially after exams, after the grades are put in, after exams, that is the perfect time to start this. Okay. It says, do your cleaning and organizing a little at a time as you have time. Try tackling one drawer at lunchtime and another one at the next day. Do find some bins that you could label donate or trash. That's good. Don't forget about the unseen parts of the classroom, like cabinets and drawers. Do create zones, put things together in the same zone. That's good. So that's some really cool tips there. And then the fourth one that she has is a simple key to future success. I like that. We need to start thinking about our futures, by the way. Step 1, celebrate the things that went well, which I already told you guys that. Now, talk about some notes about things you want to change. Identify the root cause of last year's biggest pain point. That is really good. Step 4, make a plan for what needs to change. And so I'm going to end on that with her because she's got so much great content. If you want to see that, it was let me see, finishing strong, strategies for making the final weeks count. That was the name of her article. So anyways, so that was pretty cool. And so now I just want to say, I understand that, it's imperative to clean up and all this, get the grades good. But I hope that more so than that, that educators, that you're able to make a fabulous last impression with your students. I always tell a story about my first year teaching, and after the kids said bye, Miss White, and all that, and gave me hugs, and it was wonderful. Just when the bell rang and it was it, and I just cried, tears of love. I cried and cried and cried because they loved me and I loved them, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and so it was just awesome. I'll never forget that. And I don't know. I would just encourage you to strive to have a beautiful last weeks of school, last day of school. Maybe you could celebrate. I don't know if you guys can have parties or behavior events where you guys can celebrate the achievement together. If students have been accepted to college, make a big deal out of it. Students are going into the service, please make a big deal out of it. Students are entrepreneurs, make a big deal out of it, right? So those are some things there. Now I want to pull up my blog because I told you guys I would, of what I was able to tell you guys earlier on with grit. So what is grit? I already told you, grit is great resilience in time, determination, and perseverance, which is correct. So what could you do? So here I tell you, finishing strong can create a lasting impact on your students and set a positive tone for the upcoming year. By applying my grit framework, having your growth mindset with your goals, your resilience, also having your self-efficacy, time management, which builds your integrity and it also builds tenacity. These things are going to help you with grit. So first things first is you want to set clear goals, reflect on those goals, and encourage your students to set their own goals as well, because you're trying to finish. You don't want to go all this year and not attain the goal of success, whatever success is to them. Fostering a growth mindset. Okay. When you're doing that, you're emphasizing that mistakes are opportunities for growth. Reflect and adjust. Okay. So midway through the final marking period, you're going to take a moment to reflect on what has worked well and adjust any lesson plans to focus on various areas of focus for your students. And then prioritizing self-care. Dedicate time to your well-being, whether that's exercise, mindfulness, or hobbies that will recharge you. And then maintaining consistent communication. Okay, that goes with that sense of your self-efficacy, being transparent, being consistent with parents and students, because you're building that trust and accountability. And then, of course, celebrating achievements, which is imperative, right, for that success. Be a role model for grit. So show your students what it means to embody grit, okay, and share your struggles and your successes and explain how you navigated them. This is so powerful. That vulnerability piece that we have, educators, is everything. Then I tell you to create collaborative learning opportunities. So encourage collaboration among students as they review and finalize their learning. Whether it's group projects, which I highly recommend the last few days of school, peer tutoring, or study teams. Staying energized and engaged is key as well, guys. So maintaining energy during that final stretch, using hands-on activities. Okay, and then, of course, reflecting and planning for that new year. So set preliminary goals for the next school year and consider how you can integrate those lessons, right, with this year's experiences. So again, finishing strong with grit, it creates a meaningful conclusion for all of us. And when you're doing this, it enhances your academic success and it also nurtures the personal growth of everybody involved. And so with that said, I do have this wonderful QR code here for the grit sheet, and there's more on my website that you can check out whenever you guys get a chance. So thanks for letting me share that with you. I know that, we weren't, people have so much going on. But I want to also remind you, educators, you are very competent. You're bigger than the politics, of education. And you're qualified for what you do. So continue to let your light shine. Do not get bogged down with the everyday, just ups and downs in the cycle of education. Continue to show your best. You're an amazing person. You make the world of some people that are out there. You are fabulous. So if that's the case, let the students see that part of you and wrap up the school year with a bang, with positivity, with excellence, with success. Okay, I promise you won't regret it. So this was pretty cool. I did find one strong.
Last months of school, and you already know what it is. And if you don't, you're about to find out. But one of the biggest mistakes that I often see teachers make is that they try to do classroom as usual during this season. And that could be very frustrating for you as a teacher and decrease the productivity in your classroom. And so in today's video, I am sharing 4 tips that you can do to help you not just survive in the last months of school, but actually thrive. Coming up next. You are currently in the home stretch of the school year. Spring break is behind you, and summer is in front of you with little to no significant breaks in between. And so this can be a recipe for increased frustration and stress for you and your students. And so many teachers try to face this season doing the typical things to manage their classrooms. But I think it's important to recognize that these are the last months, and it's different from the first months and the middle months, because just as much as you are anticipating the summer, so are your students. And so it tends to bring out different behaviors, or at least heighten misbehaviors in the classroom.
Okay, let's
to the shift when it happens. Take notice of which misbehaviors are increasing in your classroom. For example, often there is a restlessness that tends to show up that can lead to certain unwanted behaviors. So maybe your students are calling out more, they're talking more, they're more fidgety. Noticing the shift will help you stop frustration in its tracks, because you will not be caught off guard. Instead, you will see the challenges coming, and this will allow you to be strategic and proactive before things go too far. Here are a few. Stay structured. Another big mistake I see teachers make during the season is to over-relax the structure in their classroom. A lack of structure can send the message to your students that summer fun has come early. Resist the urge to let your structure fall to the side and stick to routines and procedures that are included in your classroom management system.
All right, she's rocking it out. But, for the sake of time, and for copyright, I want to honor her and let you guys find out her video whenever you get a chance in your own time. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to talk with you a little bit today on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. And with that said, again, this podcast, it will be on the X Factor EDU network. So check it out on Spotify. Thank you, Dr. Matthew Joseph and the team for this. You can follow me also on social media to check it out here. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is the India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123. TikTok is Dr. India White. Threads is Indy238. And Blue Sky is Dr. India White. The website, guys, is www.india-white.com. If you're wanting to reach out for an event in the future, summer, fall, professional development, whatever, I'd love to join you. And then if you're needing a book or blogs, please schedule me for that. Whenever you need it, whenever you need my services, I'll be here. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at these fabulous events. Make sure you guys also check out the Grit Academy for tutoring, especially if students need tutoring over the summer. And remember, this podcast is specific to if you're trying to close achievement gap or you're having classroom management issues like end of the year, behavior problems, things like that, or students just aren't motivated to do the work, then you can join me here on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast. Okay. So with that said, have great resilience and time. And no matter what, stay gritty. See ya.